disruptive.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. So here's an interesting turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. A bunch of rabbis went to a pro-Palestine protest to rally against the state of Israel doing genocidal warfare on the people in Gaza. And in the crowd was basically a Zionist Karen, if you will, that screamed at the top of her lungs, trying to switch the rabbis to play for the opposing team. And the rabbis calmly put this Karen into her place. And it's a pretty interesting tale of events happening at this rally. I believe this is in New York, but I may be wrong. But listen to this.
How can you say that? You're not a Jew! You're not a Jew! How dare you! You're not a Jew! To say that!
They caused bloodshed! They caused rivers of bloodshed!
How can you say that? You're Jewish! How can you shame your own people?
Who is a Jew?
Oh, it's hard to defend this lady. When you're screaming at the top of your lungs, complete nonsense, but also the fact that you just said 2 seconds ago, you called the other guy, you said, you're not Jewish. You don't represent my people. You're not Jewish. And then Lily turned to the next guy and said, well, you're Jewish, but how can you be holding that flag? You're telling this to rabbis. Some people's minds just go completely off table. I don't know where they gone, but clearly she's just off the rockers. Clearly she just completely has no touch to what she's seeing in front of her. She has no awareness of what's actually happening and just screaming on the behest of screaming. It's incredible. It's incredible. You're not Jewish. You don't represent my people. Well, you are Jewish, and how can you be holding that flag? This is the pure Zionist Karen fuel in action, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see this again.
How can you say that? You're not a Jew! You're not a Jew! How dare you! You're not a Jew! To say that!
They caused bloodshed! They caused rivers of bloodshed!
How can you say that? You're Jewish! How can you shame your own people?
Who is a Jew?
We're Jews! This is our people!
He was an atheist! He was against Judaism!
We're all Jews here, all right?
Yes, so how are they saying that?
Because
they believe in genocide.
Jewish, I don't want genocide. I don't want that.
Because I'm
That's
Jewish!
our country!
And the Talmud said it's not our country like that.
That is our country! How dare you say that about our own people?
Because I'm Jewish! Because I'm Jewish, I'm standing here!
Put yourself in this situation.
How can they say that? You're Jewish! They're just taking pictures!
Kids are dying in Gaza! Kids are dying in Gaza!
What's wrong with us?
Kids are dying in Gaza!
What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with them?
And right now, the only person I feel bad for is that tiny kid in the stroller there that's looking around, witnessing. I'm assuming that's the mother of that child. I'm assuming that's her kid being strolled into this pro-Palestinian event, knowing that she's going to just make a complete ass of herself, screaming at the top of her lungs, doing the full Karen plot twist of, you represent our people! You represent! Contradicting herself within her screaming, and people are trying to calm her down. These are actual Jewish people in support of ending this war for both sides of the aisle, wanting to, get to a healthy compromise, telling this woman, listen, I'm hearing to will you, I'm listening to you out, but you gotta calm down. And she's still, this is like my country. I feel bad for that kid growing up to realize that her mother had an epic freakout in public and was aware of this. And people are just taking like, this is going to be shared for many years. Like, why would you do this? Why? After all the times I've heard, don't get your kids involved in politics and, that whole notion, like when they had child actors, remember that was the thing? They said like, oh, you don't want kids to be politically activated, and why are you using kids as props for your political agendas? This is the point where I agree with that. Why are you bringing your child? If you're walking, like, if it was just her, okay, that's its own story. That's its own, you're defending yourself. But don't bring your kid. If you're walking your child, don't bring them to a pro-Palestine protest that's trying to de-escalate the war and scream barbarically at these people like a maniac. Because that kid's going to grow up and realize what a disgusting person you must be to do this in front of your own kid. Wow.
Jew is not about genocide. This is not what Judaism stands for. This is not what Judaism stands for.
Shame, Israel! Shame, Israel!
I'm protecting her. Let me.
What is wrong with
Yeah,
you? We're not monsters.
You guys leave her alone.
No, we are. I'm serious. I know you.
There you go. I mean, I know there's going to be people that are like, well, it's this unruly mob that came out. No. She deliberately walked up to these people and screamed in anger. Like, this is all on her. This is all on her. You brought your child into this. You screamed like an insane maniac. And these people were just trying to calm you down. Just like, okay, we hear you. Just calm down. Here's why we're protesting. Here's why. And she's just screaming, you represent the Jewish people. I'm a Jew. I'm the best one. You're not Jewish. But you kind of are. Why are you holding the flag? She reminds me of one of those like feral cats that when you go and try to pet them, they go like, ah. Like that's the face of just insanity going through your skull. That is like, you just go fuel fire. Full Karen Mad Max Fury Road, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that was. And here's another this is another angle to the confrontation here. And again, it's not helping her case. None of this screaming, anger, yelling, say, how dare you? It's not really argumenting on defending how you want to eradicate an entire population. How genocide is preventing a genocide of Jewish people. To me alone, that notion, that contradicts itself. That we got to kill and slaughter as many people as possible from the other side so that we don't get slaughtered. Just absolutely barbaric, but anyway.
Zionism is against the support killing
come from Israel.
a Jew
Our people come from Israel. You have come from your people.
Zionism is a political movement which is causing bloodshed.
What are you talking about? That's where
So I don't know if you heard what he said there. He says Zionism is a political movement, which is exactly it. And the whole purpose of them trying to conflate that with Judaism is they're trying to demolish and silence out these people, the actual Jewish people that are calling out this BS. They want to conflate with Judaism, and in order to be a proper Jew, you have to be involved in this political cult. And the fact that you have this aggravated blonde woman screaming at the top of her lungs, "This is wrecking our people!" shows how this propagandization, this weaponization of Jewish faith is cultivizing these people to become the maniacs that they are. That Zionism is a threat to Judaism. It's the anti-Semitic threat that's destroying the practices of Judaism. Because actual Jews don't represent Israel. They don't support Israel. They're actually against the formation of this country. But Zionism is definitely full force in eradicating people to take over and dominate the Middle East. Because it's a political agenda.
families from Israel. How can you hold that flag?
This is because the actions of the Zionist people, they are
What are you
responsible for
talking about?
bloodshed.
That's our ancestors.
We lived in a
That is
beautiful
what
peace.
flag is that? How can you say that you're a Jew?
We lived in a beautiful peace with Palestinian people for hundreds of years.
How can you say that you're not a Jew? You're not a Jew. How dare you?
When Zionism came out,
You just said they were Jewish. You just said they were Jewish. You're Jewish. How can you be holding that flag? Well, you're not Jewish. Just running in circles. And it goes to show, it completely diminishes the Jewish stereotypes that, you know, they're smart, and they're funny. Anytime you see Zionists in action, it diminishes the Jewish stereotypes of being smart and funny. Because real sympathetic Jews, like this person here that's trying to acknowledge the state of affairs and trying to bring her to some sort of common sense real, is actually a representation of Jewish people. She is just a crazy buffoon sucked in the propaganda warp created by bloodthirsty maniacs like Benjamin Netanyahu and the global cabal of war criminals that want to advance this.
when Zionism came in, they caused their bloodshed. They caused rivers of bloodshed.
How can you say that you're Jewish? How can you shame your own people?
Who is a Jew?
We're Jews. This is our people.
We're all Jews here.
He was against Judaism.
Jewish too. We're all Jews here. All right?
Yeah, so how are they saying that?
Because they believe in
God. Jewish, I'm standing it.
I don't want that.
That's our country.
And the Talmud says it's not our country like that.
That is our country. How dare you say that about our own people? What's wrong with you? Fuck you!
I'm Jewish too. Put yourself in
Anyway, I can't. This is just I can't. This is just hilarious, but also just sad at the same time. Again, I feel bad for the little kid that got strolled into this. Why? For the sake of all mothers and for the sake of parenting, why the hell would you deliberately roll your kid into a rally that you know you're going to get angry at and you're going to scream at your top of your lungs like a maniac? Why would you do that to yourself? Oh, I know, because they want to play the victim card again, which is exactly the whole purpose. The whole Zionist agenda. Play the victim, but also play the angry, evil, maniacal people that want to eradicate an entire population of Gazans in order to eradicate them, take over their land, take over their resources, and go further beyond Palestine. You know, to save the Jewish people, even though you are going against Jewish people. The whole thing is a goddamn psyops, is what I'm trying to say. It's a psyops created and fabricated and elevated to diminish against actual Jewish people. The real Jewish people that lived among Palestinians and Arabs and Christians and Muslims and all kinds of faith for many, many years, until the fact that, hey, we need some sort of geopolitical ploy to epitomize people. And this is the perfect opportunity. And now you get this barbarian Karen screaming at the top of her lungs at random people and starts to throw sucker punches at them. And a bunch of rabbis have to come together and say, listen, here's why we're here. We're going to give you a bit of a history lesson that you're never taught in school. We're going to tell you exactly why we're here in an elegant, calm way. Just calm your roll. And I bet she doesn't even know this, considering that she has a phone in her hand. I love how, you know, one of the things that she said was, how dare you take pictures of me? How dare you get this on film? Even though I think it was, you know, she started taking pictures. She walked up and took pictures of it. And I guess it was her husband that was trying to defend her, or someone who was related to her, was also with a cell phone recording video. Like, come on. You're doing this to yourself. And by the way, while people are screaming in the Western Hemisphere of stupid shit, let's just remind people that even people in Israel are calling this out. So your people in this settlement that you're trying to defend, they're angry at the genocide. They know this is bullshit. They know this is psyops. They're the ones going after Zionism. But it's because Benjamin Netanyahu, the IDF, and this entire cult has decimated against its own people that created this catastrophe in the first place that brought us to the state of affairs that we're in right now and played you all like suckers. People are coming to the streets. This is from Suppressed News. Breaking, exclusive, tens of thousands protests in Tel Aviv. Their propaganda video backfired, as it is now being played in protests in Tel Aviv to fuel the rage against their government. They are demanding the removal of Netanyahu and exchange deal with the resistance, which is literally the basics of basics. That's literally what they could be doing right now. The people are screaming about the hostages. The least you can be doing right now is going to a negotiation. But they're not going to do that because it's nothing to do with the hostages. If you actually read into this, if you actually see what's unfolding, it had nothing to do with the hostages. They used them as collateral so we can get to a state of genocide. This is all a ploy, a setup, and people like that Karen you saw earlier is part of that ploy. She's a sucker in the propagandization of fueling the Israel Zionist. And here's what actual Israelis are doing, protesting against the Netanyahu regime. So they're trying to show the propaganda video. I'm assuming that's the hostages. Funny enough, next to a McDonald's sign. That's gonna help your cause. And people are seeing right through this. They're seeing right through this. Maybe it's because they read into it. Maybe because they know how bullshit this entire thing is. Like, I've said this before. Prior to October 7th, prior to understanding all this, I didn't really know much about Israel. I didn't know much about Israel, Gaza. I know there was confrontation. I saw the documentary that Max Blumenthal and Dan Cohen put together. That was about it. And I we covered some things about it, but really, there's so much that you couldn't even take time of it. But now, since I've actually took the time to actually investigate, look into stories, see how this played about, actually investigate where Hamas originated, which nobody ever has asked that question, where these terrorist groups originate. Because once you find out how terrorism is made, holy crap, it is going to scare you more than the terrorists themselves. Because the people that are creating the terrorists are the people that are trying to defend you from terrorism. And the whole purpose of creating these terrorist groups is so that they can have war on terror, so they can manipulate people to stand into line. So to advance their political agenda, to weaponize their own citizens. And in order to do so, they have to villainize a bunch of people and cultivate them as a terrorist organization. Give them money, give them weapons, give them military contracts, give them training, so that they can eradicate their own civilians. The real terrorists are the people creating the terrorists. And we don't ever point that out. But now, finally, I think social media and TikTok and all these videos are coming about, podcasters, comedian, like people are finally speaking out about this. They're now seeing how the sausage is made. They're now witnessing. I've been living through this for the last 20 years with the war on terror. And when we found out about how Afghanistan came to be and how Hillary Clinton in 2010, that the whole reason we have these terrorist groups in the Middle East is because of us. And now here we are once again reliving that playbook, and people still want to believe that idea that somehow these terrorists just happen overnight, and they don't even realize it's the exact same playbook being played to them once again. It shows how devious this psyoptic ploy is, how there's a globalist movement of advancing as much warfare as possible, that the military-industrial complex is a real thing, that Dwight D. Eisenhower's warning was indeed a warning. It was not something just to wipe off your shoulder like a chip. And we should have took it more seriously, because here we are now advancing to World War III. And to the point of nuclear atrocity. And once you come from nuclear atrocity, that's it. So, congratulations, you blonde bimbo Karen there, screaming at the top of your lungs. I hope you understand that you screaming at the top of your lungs is advancing genocidal freaks to slaughter as many people as possible. You're actually killing more of humanity than you are protecting. And it's not helping your people. It's not helping anybody, because they don't care about those people. They don't care about anybody except their selves. These are evil psychopaths, belligerent liars, blood-curdling, sucking, vampiric monsters that have cultivated these institutions to bring us to the brink of World War III and humanitarian collapse. But luckily, there's people on the right side of history that are calling this BS out, and we need more of those people to come together to remind people how we're all being played.